Okay, so like I said, somebody asked me a question. How do you explain all this universe and that's everything around and what is all these things? These are very important questions. I mean, he had a genuine curiosity, no question about it, but the answers are not easy because you cannot really, it's not something that can be explained in words. Because when you meditate and when you go deep within, your mind is gone, your thoughts are gone, and there is only consciousness that is left. And consciousness has no words, but it talks a lot. In the sense, there is no talking, there are no words, but consciousness is very potent. It just gives the signal, gives the answers. And these are all difficult thing to explain, but this is what really happens. And like I said, they cannot be brought out in words. So as I try to explain, and as I posted in the group today, as I try to explain, the whole sansar is divided into several hierarchies, all the way from the stones, right, with no apparent consciousness, all the way to the humans, which has one of the highest levels of consciousness. But the consciousness is there. Even an earthworm, when it tries to look for food, it is conscious. There is no difference between the consciousness of the earthworm and your consciousness. Earthworm looking for food for its baby, or an ant looking for food for its baby, and then you going out of your house and making a living for your family. There is no difference. The quality of consciousness is the same. It's like if you compare an ice to a iceberg, to water or steam. All those things look different, but they still have the same H2O in them. The same way, we all have a different expressibility of consciousness, but we still have the same consciousness. So that creates a hierarchy, to us at least, that if you look at the objects which are inert objects like stones or a phone or whatever, then you are looking at it. You have the consciousness and they don't, at least not the way that you can tell if that is or not. So this hierarchy gets established. So there is a subject object correlation between everything. Everything exists as a subject and object. If I want to play with my phone, I am the subject. The phone is an object, like we already talked about. The phone cannot be the subject for me because it does not have the expressive consciousness that it can express. It does not have that mechanism, the instrument to explain the consciousness. We have five senses and of sensing and five senses of expression, the speech and arms and legs and movements and all those things we can do, but it does not have that much power to do any of these things. So iPhone is going to remain inert, and to us it's less not important. But if you think about it, the subject object relationship, an object is created by the subject because subject looks at it and it notices that iPhone is there or chair is there, whatever, and it creates an image. And that's how your sansaric experiences keep on going. But who creates the subject? So the objects are created by the subject, but who creates the subject? A subject without consciousness has no value. If I become unconscious, no matter how many times you give me my phone, I will not recognize it. Even though my eyes may be open, I may be unconscious. That is the consciousness that makes the whole play of the sansar possible. So consciousness is what determines the hierarchy in the whole society, the whole sansar. And we all know that, but we never pay attention to all these things. We think that we are conscious. You may look conscious, but the consciousness is consciousness. You are not conscious without the consciousness. So the time when we die, the consciousness disappears, our body remains. Then we are just as bad as an object. Our body becomes an object that needs to be eliminated as soon as possible. So we are also object that we look at each other. So in the world of objects, The prana that is fed in is by the consciousness. Consciousness keeps you alive. Consciousness makes you energetic, makes you aware of the surroundings, and that kind of creates the whole sensoric experience. But if you really go into the detail, what are objects? It's only matter. Our body is came from five senses. It's going to go back into the five senses. So it's really objects are something that keeps on rotating all the time. So in that process, it becomes a process. There is no beginning, there is no end. It's a continuous process that keeps on going from the time you are born till you die. You are continuously changing every second. So is the tree, so is the earthworm, and so is the bird. Even the objects which are not alive, that to us it looks like a stone, has its own age. It may be measured in millions of years, but it is there. At some point, even the mountains scale down and the galaxies disappear. All those things are always happening: birth, growth, decay, and death. So what is the matter? The matter is nothing but energy. Like Einstein said, E equal to mc square. So mass multiplied by square of the speed of light is energy. So we are nothing but all these objects which are there are nothing but collection of energy. Energies are like getting concentrated, like a whirlpool. Like you look at a river, right? In the river, the water is flowing all the time. In some places, you will see there are some whirlpools created. Now, it's still the same river, but whirlpools has their own appearance compared to the rest of the river, which is just homogeneous, never really looking any different. But these eddies, these whirlpools have their appearances. So the energy that is everywhere in the universe, the whirlpools of energies are the objects. As we science already knows, we break it down, the matter, into atoms and subatomic particles, and then ultimately end up on quantum physics. Quantas are packets of energy. Imagine the definition of quanta itself is it's a packet of energy. It's not packet of something solid like a packet of rice or wheat or nothing like that. Packet of energy. Ultimately, we are all energies, right? So energies, when it turns it's around itself, gets developed, because energy is in motion like a river all the time, but it guns into these eddies, and then all these energies, when it concentrated, creates its own presence in this vast ocean of consciousness, right? So, but there is a difference between the whirlpools created in the river and these objects, which are whirlpools of energy created in the energy field, which is everywhere, right? You cannot see it, but it's there. We are the proof of it, right? The question is, what is the difference? The difference is the whirlpools in a river are created by the river, the water, which is not conscious, right? But these eddies, the packets of energies which are created all around us, all these objects, now at this point, it doesn't matter whether you are a human or you are a stone or you are a bird or a pebble on the ground. They all are nothing but whirlpools of energy. These are concentrated energies interacting with each other. And these are happening in the ocean of consciousness. So there is a big difference between the eddies which are happening in the river and the eddies which are happening in the consciousness where there is energy filled. This energy is also conscious, right? So that is the big difference. Now, a whirlpool cannot claim that I am different than the river because it doesn't have any consciousness. So this collection, the whirlpool, the eddies of the consciousness it is conscious while it keeps on looking at itself through the consciousness, and consciousness is your inner eye. Now that you should know by now, because in meditation, when you close your eyes, there is no vision there. Your eyes are closed, but all the interior you're observing through what? with the help of consciousness. So that's your inner eye. So now these eddies, the whirlpools which are created in the energy field, they are conscious. They know, I mean, they may not know, but they are originated from the consciousness, but they themselves are also conscious. Not like waves of the ocean. They are also ocean, but they don't know anything but that they are ocean, or they don't even know that they are waves, right? But in this case, the eddies which happens, which are the energy fields collecting and creating the whirlpools, also has consciousness. Now it keeps on looking at itself all the time. Being aware of itself generates the identity, that I amness, asmita, I exist. And that can only happen in the spiritual field. A wave or a whirlpool in the river is never going to be able to say that I exist. But this I amness gets generated by continuously looking at itself again and again and again, and it turns into an identity. So that was the beginning of the Dvait. The duality was created. Because before that, it was all consciousness. Consciousness has just one homogeneous existence. It's so all these whirlpools which are created, the energy fields are also nothing but created out of consciousness, only if they don't know that, only that they don't know that. So they have their own particular existence that they have started believing in it. It's like I gave an example earlier. It's almost like looking at your shadow, and you keep looking at it. It's always there. It's always there. It's always there. And you keep falling in love with it that, okay, maybe there is something called shadow, and you name it and you start interacting with it. Yes, it may sound stupid, but it's making an example that you start believing that you and the shadow are two separate things. Just from that example, you can now picturize that if a whirlpool of energy is created, which is also conscious, it's a conscious energy. And if you really translate it into Sat, Chit, and Anand, Sat and Chit are combined. The existence which was noticed by the whirlpool of energy that yes, I exist, and is also Chit, it knows that it exists. And that's where the duality starts, the I amness starts. Then it starts looking at others, similar whirlpools created all around. Then you start seeing the difference between, say, I being me and you being you. And that's how the duality created. Now, it may sound too simplistic, but that's how, in the primitive state, that's how it happens. And then the mind starts, because I am me and you are you. How do I deal with you versus you doing the same thing, dealing with me? And a complex mind gets created, and is full of beliefs, and there is a multiplications, and all this permutation and combination starts happening at the mind level. If you are you, I am me, I am better than you are smaller than me, I am bigger than you, this and that, I am Hindu, you are Muslim. All these ramifications keep on happening. And all that started as just one innocent mistake of realizing the I amness. So in meditation, what you need to do is go deep, deep within, and realize that subject and objects are not different. They both are objects until the consciousness gets into the picture, into the subject, and that makes it a subject. So treat subject as object also. So if you are a subject and iPhone is an object, there is no difference between you and this iPhone. Why? Because you both are objects. Only the consciousness creates that hierarchy just for this display of Maya. The illusion, the dance of energy that is happening is Maya. And that's what is happening. And that's exactly so. When you start realizing it's all inside, right? Not linguistically, not in a talking, you cannot explain to each other like that. When you realize that there is no difference between me and the iPhone, there is no difference between me and a chair or you, There is just one homogeneous consciousness because we all are consciousness. We all were consciousness at the mind level, only we started differing from each other. And this duality started, and then ego started. And now, of course, the whole world is a mess. But it's up to us to go down to that level and realize that all these eddies which are happening is the play of the energy that Shastras, the scriptures describe as Parvati. Parvati is the Prakruti, which is the dance of Maya, and Shiva is where the Prakruti originated from. But that's a wrong interpretation. There are no divisions in the consciousness. Consciousness cannot be divided. So my understanding, my experience, my realization is that they're all one. Because on one hand, you say Shankar and Parvati are separate, but then you describe Sat Chit Anand. Sat Chit Anand is the highest godliness. Sat is existence, and Chit is the mental energy, the one that creates dreams in at night, and all that is energy. So all these things is one. So Shankar and Parvati are, and they also say that they both merge into one. But it appears different only to console us that we are coming from the dualistic sansar, to explain to us that this is all energy filled and it is Parvati. Fine, for understanding is okay. But if you realize that, is there any difference between a wave and an ocean? No. Wave is a dancing ocean. Simple as that. So the same way, is there any difference between a whirlpool and a river? No, it's the river dancing. That's all. Simple as that. So if that way you can understand that, there is no difference between Shankar and Parvati. Shankar is in its lost, is totally engrossed in its divine dance. So Shankar is the dancer. Godliness is described as a dancer. And dancer and the dance cannot be separated. Parvati is that dance, that chanchalta, the mobility, all that is built into the same consciousness. You cannot separate it. Parvati and Shankar cannot be separated. So when you start putting both the things together, the dance of the sansar, it does not remain separate anymore. Sansar itself is dancing Shiva. Everything is Shiva. Whatever name you use doesn't matter. I'm just giving an example that the whole universe is the dancing godliness. And it's never going to stop, because the day the dance stops, dancer also loses its function. So for Shankar to manifest, dance is necessary. And he himself is dancing. But all this is the way you look at it. So start meditating deeply, experience all these things. And your experience may not be the same as mine, but at least reach to the bottom at the cosmic level. What was the starting point of this whole universe? You can, if you keep on relegating yourself backward, within and within, do a sincere meditation. And that's when you realize you come out with only one answer. There is only oneness. There is only Advait state that exists. All these differences, people may be talking about it because of that, the mind that has evolved over millions and millions of years. But it's their unfortunate mistake. And we all did that mistake. But I'm just saying, but once you realize all these things, the oneness gets established. But it's important as a first step, then you treat everybody as a Shiva and everything as a Shiva. Your mind cools down because there is no need for mind anymore. A Shiva running after Shiva, not possible. I run after for what? To gain what? You already Shiva. The oneness experience of Advait in its total state. See, the self-realization that I am the consciousness is only half the step, 50%. When you know that everything is consciousness, that's when it finishes. So, but it's a journey. It's a beautiful journey. So take the journey and find that bliss state within you. It's there.